Hello everyone, welcome to the commentary track for the Phantasm movie. Not Phantasm, the horror movie, or Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, but my movie I made. Some of you probably have no clue what the hell this is, and I don't blame you. For all two of you watching that are going to listen to this whole thing, I appreciate you. I'm sure people have already clicked off. Yes, long story short, I have a stop motion series I've been making. Well, I made it over the course of 3 years, and about almost 2 years ago is when I ended the series. But I had a lot of inspiration to make a movie epilogue, sort of thingamajig. Anyways, yeah, I'm sure everybody's already clicked off this by now. Like I said, for those of you, the two of you probably listening, I appreciate you. Yes, so I have a lot to talk about here. So obviously here we got a flashback. All right. Anyways, let me get into this. So the first thing I need to mention is why the hell did I do this? Because I had that series. It was 50 episodes. It ended pretty good. I don't want to say it was like a perfect ending, but it was a pretty good ending, I think. And it's been like I said, almost 2 years, and I just had a lot of different inspirations. First and foremost, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Now, I'm going to be mentioning that a lot through this commentary because if you've seen that movie, you see the resemblance with this in many ways. So I'm going to be spoiling that if you've never seen it, and it's a follow-up to Breaking Bad, which, I don't want to spoil that for you either because it's the best show ever made. You can't change my mind about that. Yeah, so if you've never seen Breaking Bad or the follow-up film El Camino, do yourself a favor and watch it. They're all on Netflix. Same with Better Call Saul, which is arguably even better than Breaking Bad. I don't think so, but it's just as good. Anyways, I'm going to be on so many tangents. It's going to be all over the place. So please, I'm going to be spoiling that movie, so check all that out. Anyways, El Camino was the thing that first got me wanting to make this, because that movie came out last year in October, but the first trailer came out a couple months before that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, when Funko Street ended, there was no such thing as El Camino. Like, there was no trailer, nothing. There was rumors there was going to be a Breaking Bad movie, which I was hopeful for, because I know the creators and everybody, who made the show, they know what they're doing. They're not going to just make some piece of crap for no reason. And the movie was excellent. I loved it. I have a whole reaction to it if you want to watch it. But when I saw the trailer, and the trailer was so beautifully well done, with that great song, Blackwater, and the movie itself, obviously, like I said, was great, I really loved the idea of, going back to see what happens after, because the movie came out about, I think, a little over 6 years after the show had ended, and you got to see what happened to Jesse. So essentially, when Funko Street ended, there was two characters. Here's Joy, obviously, she's one of them. Two, core main characters that survived, Deadpool and Joy. Now, the thing with me, like I said, I was happy with the ending, but if you go back and look at how I did Season 5 and listen to the commentary and all that stuff, if you were a viewer at the time, because I'm sure a lot of people, who are watching my channel now are, newer viewers, Season 5 was sort of an abrupt way for me to finish the show. I had many reasons why I wanted to finish the show. When I first started, well, not when I first started, because when I first started making the show, it was just for fun. But once I started making, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, I was like, oh, this can go, 10 seasons. And then, various reasons why, I decided to end it at Season 5, so I kind of had to, wrap up things, sort of, not the way they should have been wrapped up, but, like I said, I thought it came out okay. I just had to do a lot of abrupt things. And one of the things that was like on my mind was like, okay, Joy in particular, like I introduced her near the end of season 5, and she didn't really have like a lot of time to shine. You didn't really get to know her. She's essentially the widow of Travis in a way. I've mentioned that before. She's not literally his widow. They never got to get together or anything like that, which, you know, is already tragic as it is. But I was like, man, I wish I could have did more with Joy. And then also with Deadpool, literally the second to last episode, he is resurrected. And that was because, you know, I needed them to have a fighting chance against Thanos. And he, you know, was the help for that. And plus I wanted Deadpool to live because, you know, he went through so much. And if anything, if anybody deserved to live, it was Deadpool. And plus he had died twice at that point. So it's like, yeah, he has been through a hell of a lot. So I wanted to see, like, what would Deadpool make of that? Like, what would he make of his life? You know, because Wolverine sacrificed himself for Deadpool to live. It's like, okay, all this happens to him, and now what? What does he do? You know what I mean? Like, the show ends with, like, Joy saying, oh, I'm going to go start a life, I guess, and Deadpool decides to stay, you know, with Travis, you know, at his grave. And it's like, okay, what happens after that? Now, you don't necessarily, like, you know, people like to nitpick about, like, El Camino. It's like, oh, the movie didn't need to happen. Well, if you ask me, Breaking Bad is about Walter. And it ended so perfectly, you know, with his death and all that. And it was a perfect finale to, like, any show ever. El Camino is not about Walter. It's about Jesse. And I kind of saw this movie. I mean, Deadpool's not the main character in this movie. But one of the main things I wanted to, like, look at would be like, okay, what happens to Deadpool? And I didn't want to make him the main character on purpose. I'll get to that later when I start talking about Joe. But yeah, I just was fascinated by the idea of, like, okay, maybe I can make a follow-up a couple years later, whatever, if I come up with a good enough story. Like, I didn't want to make some piece of crap. I wanted to come up with, like, a cool story, you know. So that's what I wanted to do, was like, okay, what would Deadpool make of his life? Because he had been through so much crap, you know, and it's like, he's literally been giving another chance, like a third chance, because he already died twice, like I said. Yeah, I just, and like I said, Walt was the main character of Breaking Bad, and then Funko Street, Travis was the main character, and, you know, in the last episode, he dies. So this movie, you know, Travis has a little quick cameo at the end. I had to do that because, I mean, I had to. I mean, Travis was in every single episode, so I had to have him have a cameo with Jeffrey, of course, the dude. And that's not for a little while now, so I'm already talking about it. But this movie is not about Travis whatsoever. Like, he gets mentioned a bunch of times, obviously, but his story is over. So this movie is about Joe, the main character. And, you know, like I said, Deadpool is a big role too. And I purposely didn't want to show Deadpool for, like, a majority of the movie. Like, not unfortunately, the opening scene had to be that flashback. It just had to be. And if I could have had it my way, I would have had Deadpool not appear until, like, you know, way later, until you first, you know, when you see him as an old man. I pulled a Blade Runner 2049, if you guys saw that movie. Harrison Ford does not show up until, like, I think almost 2 hours into that movie, which I thought was awesome. You know, I love the way they did that. And the whole reveal of his character, you know, because Joe wanders around Las Vegas, and he's like, there's no one there, and it's like a ghost town, and he finds him finally, and it's like this epic scene. So I sort of, like, imitated that, obviously, later on, when Joe finds Deadpool. But like I said, the movie had to open with that scene because, you know, not only is it like a cool flashback, and, you know, people who watch the old episodes be like, oh, look at that, that's so cool. It's a great way to illustrate what this movie was really, what I'm trying to say with this movie, and I should explain that now. The main message of this movie, as you saw, as you hear many times in this movie, people, well, not everybody, Deadpool says it, Travis says it, well, Deadpool says it twice, but I do have it quoted. Everybody's got to die sometime. And if you're wondering too, who the hell is M Shadows? I hope you looked it up. Or people who do know who he is, they're like, when did he say that? If you don't know M Shadows, he's the main singer of Avenged Sevenfold, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And that is a lyric from A Little Piece of Heaven, which is a great song and a great music video. You should definitely check it out. I mean, the full lyric goes, because everybody's got to die sometime. But I just wanted to put everybody's got to die sometime. I think it was funny to put, like, a quote from somebody that's not, like, you know, a philosopher or anything, just a metal singer. Anyways, the main message I wanted to get across with this movie is there are people in your life, how do I put this? Okay, have you ever been in a situation where you're young, right? You're still a teenager, whatever, and you realize, you know, you think about this consciously, that one day I'm going to be old, one day me and my friends, we're not going to be able to, like, hang out with each other like we used to. Like, we're either going to, you know, like, we're all going to live in different states, we're all going to, you know, drift apart, we're all going to, some of us might get married, some of us might have kids. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, I know it's kind of weird to think that when you're younger, but sometimes that'll run through your head, right? I was that person when I would be hanging out with my friends. I'm always the one who, you know, wants to just have a good time. And, you know, there's little things that just get in the way when you're younger. It's like, you think back to when you were a teenager, those valuable years you can't get back, and you're like, thinking about all the stupid times where you and your friends found one reason or another not to hang out. Oh, I have something to do, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, let's not go do that, that's stupid. Like, you think about all the little bullshit that just gets in the way. Like, the stupid things. You know, like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with this girl. And, you know, have you ever had, like, a friend who, you know, like, they're trying to go into, like, a relationship with somebody, and you know it's not a good idea, but you can't tell them that because it's rude, and you want to be supportive. What I'm trying to say is, there are moments in your youth where there was just stupid bullshit that just got in the way of, like, time that you can't get back. Stupid reasons why people didn't want to hang out with each other, or whatever. Now I'm looking at that like, man, I wish we all could have did this that day, or went on that road trip, or planned a vacation together. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many missed opportunities. So the message I'm trying to get across with this movie is, while you have your youth, while you have your life in general, you don't necessarily need to be young. Make the most of your life. Don't let stupid things get in the way. Do what makes you happy. And that gets illustrated later on, obviously, with Deadpool's tragedy, with, you know, here, Joy's tragedy. And another reason I wanted to make this movie, if you know, I'm jumping ahead here, but in the end credits, I actually mentioned this movie is dedicated to a friend of mine that actually passed away last year. Again, all the stuff, there's a lot of things that happened last year in particular that made me want to make this. I had a friend named Justin who passed away last May, I believe. And he was literally one of the coolest dudes I ever knew, like, ever. Like, I'm not, like, just saying that. Like, it's true. I met him, it was the 8th grade field trip. 8th grade being the end of middle school. At the end of middle school, we go on a field trip to Universal Studios, actually. It was a really fun day. I didn't know him or anything, and he just happened to be... I was with a group of friends, and somebody knew him, and he just happened to join our group of friends, and I met him. And he was one of those kids that was like me. And, you know, at the time, being a nerd wasn't, like, the coolest thing ever. You know, like, nowadays, it's cool to be a nerd. You know what I mean? Like, to be into, like, you know, Marvel movies and nerd stuff and nerd culture. You know, nowadays, that's super cool. But back then, I think that was 2009 or 2010 when I first met him. It wasn't cool to be, like, a nerd, like, kid, really. And I saw it, like, I totally got it right away when I met him. He was such a nerd like me, and I was like, wow, there's somebody else like me. And the difference was, he was open about it. Like, I was sort of, like, I guess you could say a closet nerd. Like, I didn't really, like, let everybody know, you know. and he was the coolest kid. And, you know, after that, you know, we obviously went to the same high school, and I knew him there, and, you know, he just was always funny. You know, he was always cracking jokes with me. And he was really into JROTC, which is junior. You know, I honestly don't even know what ROTC stands for. It's like the little, you know, the Army class in high school, you know. He was so into that, he eventually joined the Air Force and all that stuff after high school. He was really into that stuff. I really wasn't. I just did it for the credits, really. But, you know, I had, I think, 2 classes with him. I took JROTC 2 years, and I think he might have been in both of my classes for it. But yeah, I mean, I just kept in touch with him. We would hang out sometimes, you know, after school, walk to, like, you know, Chipotle or whatever. You know, there was a Chipotle that was like a mile down the road. You know, he was just one of the coolest people I ever met. And unfortunately, you know, he, like I said, he passed away, and he was really the first person in my life I knew that died. Like, I you know, I've had grandparents that have died, but, you know, I was, like, really young. Like, I think I only met my dad's mom. Like, I think she was the only one grandparent, you know, that was still alive when I was born. I met her when I was, like, a baby, and you know, I can't remember any of that. I also knew a teacher at my elementary school that had passed away when we were in 5th grade. She was the coolest teacher ever, and everybody knew it. She died in a plane crash on Christmas Day, actually, which is kind of sad. This is getting depressing, I'm sorry. But that was 5th grade, you know. I didn't have her, you know, I wasn't in her class as a student, but I was in the math club, and she taught the math club, which was funny. So I knew her there, but I didn't really know her, like, super well. Like, you know, I was just in 5th grade, so. But, yeah, honestly, her was that for the longest time was like, oh, I knew somebody that died. It was that teacher, but I didn't really know her that well. Now, with Justin, that was a total shock, because I knew him. We knew each other, like, really well. We'd message each other, you know, about nerd stuff. You know, he was one of the few people I ever met that actually liked things I liked. Like, you know, my favorite video game is BioShock, and, you know, we would talk to each other about that, and Boardwalk Empire, you know, that was a show on HBO that nobody knew, and me and him were always talking about that show, and I don't know, it's just like, you meet somebody that is, like, so into the same things as you, but no one else, like, gets it. Like, I really don't know how to explain it, I'm sorry. Yeah, when he died, it was just like, I couldn't believe it. And it just really made me think, like, Jesus, man, like, he was the same age as me. He was, you know, I'm 24 right now. I think he might have been 25. But I'm just thinking, like, man, no matter how young you are, no matter how good your life is, it could just end at any time, and it's, you know, I don't know what he was going through, because I hadn't seen him since high school had ended. I graduated in 2014, so, you know, 5 years without really seeing him in person. But we did message each other a couple times on Facebook or, you know, Instagram, whatever. And it just really, like, hit me, and it really hit me hard. So it just really, like, reinforced the idea for me that, you know, life, you only get one life, and, you know, you should appreciate the people that are in it, and you should appreciate your life, because, you know, you're like 1 in a million, not even a million, like a billion or something, the chances of you being born. So that made me think, like, you know, I should make the most of what I have, and I should really go forth with this idea of, you know, making things on my channel. You know, I don't want to just do, you know, like, I like making unboxing videos and all that stuff, but, you know, this is art. Like, I know it's like stop motion with little figures, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy telling stories. You know, it's a whole process. Like, you write out a whole story, you do the voice work, you know, you come up with characters and motivations, and it's just it's really fun, and I just knew inside me like I had more stories to tell with this this universe, or at least this one story. But yeah, I just wanted to get that message across with this, and just make the most of your life. There's two ways you can look at it. Everybody's got to die sometime. You can look at that and say, well, I'm going to be dead one day, so none of this matters. But you can look at it the other way and say, you know what, I am going to die one day, so right now, while I'm here, I should have fun. And yeah, I don't know, guys. Oh, jeez. Anyways, but yeah, I had to make this, and like I said, this took a long time to like come up with, and I had tons of ideas in my head. El Camino, and used flashbacks, which I thought was really cool. Like, oh, Jesse and Todd did all this stuff. I would have never known it. So I came up with all of these ideas of like, what if I could like incorporate flashbacks and like there was things you didn't see behind the scenes. So I came up with all these ideas about how, the Collector, for example, like there was a younger version of him. Also, when I was planning this, I'm like, okay, every single person that's still alive, I need to like involve somehow. Like 11, for example, she was sort of a throwaway thing. I just needed her to explain how, Smith met the Undertaker in season 5. And I'm like, oh, she's still out there somewhere, so I should involve her somehow, maybe. And I came up with this whole thing about how, something would have happened between her and Deadpool while he was in his crazy mode, when Deathstroke was around. And maybe she would be inside the pile of bodies. I honestly don't remember how I came up with that part, but, when he burns the pile of bodies. And also I was thinking, oh yeah, well there's got to be a young version of the Collector, because, he came from the future as an old man, so, And then, of course, you have Deadpool and Joy. So, all those people I needed to incorporate somehow, and yeah, like I said, a lot of different inspirations for this movie. Blade Runner 2049, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, obviously. The Phantasm is a woman in that. Spoilers, sorry. Which is the same case here. Terminator Dark Fate, for example, Sarah Connor. Or just Terminator in general. I got Joy is basically Sarah Connor, obviously. Also, Star Wars The Last Jedi. I took big inspiration from that for Deadpool, because the way Luke was handled in that movie, I know a lot of people didn't like that, but I like The Last Jedi quite a bit. I don't love it per se. I loved it when I first saw it, but over time I'm kind of like, eh. I mean, I still like the movie. I never had a problem with the way Luke was handled. I actually liked it. And Luke is my favorite Star Wars character, period, point blank, has always been. And I liked the way he was handled in Last Jedi. I thought it was cool. I thought it was different. I thought they were taking a chance, and I thought it worked. So I sort of wanted to like take, Luke was this super optimistic, totally, awesome character in the original trilogy. And then when you get to Last Jedi, he's like totally like bleak and, distraught and depressed. So I sort of wanted to do the same thing with Deadpool in that. But yeah, I took inspiration from that. I took inspiration from, I guess you could say The Irishman. That movie blew me away last year. I don't know. The Irishman had that theme at the end of like getting old and, having regrets and all that. But yeah, those were like the main inspirations for this. But anyways, okay, so let's talk about Joe here. Obviously, for Joe, I used the same pop to play young Travis in season 5 during his backstory, and I purposely reused him again because Joy looks at him and says, "Wow, you look just like Travis." I mean, she doesn't say it, but she's like, "You look just like him." He's like, "Who? My dad? No, somebody else." Joe is essentially a walking reminder to Joy of Travis and the life she could have had. And plus, obviously, the Blade Runner references. Joe is from Blade Runner 2049, so, and so is Joy, and so is, I used Deckard to play old Deadpool in this. I love that movie, if you can't tell. But yeah, I just thought it would be cool to have like a walking reminder of Travis. And honestly, I couldn't even picture any other pop I have to play Joe. Like, I was like, that's got to be it. I know I used him already, but hey, I could like incorporate it to be like, oh, he looks like Travis, so it's like a walking reminder. And no, he is not Travis's son. Obviously, he's the son of Matt from Jaws, which is kind of funny. It's actually raining outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So if you hear a noise in the background, I apologize. I'm right next to my window, so. Anyways, yeah, so this movie had a lot, and here's Barbossa, obviously. I also wanted, I know it sounds silly, but I wanted to redeem Jack Sparrow, because he was honestly, like, the funniest character in the show, but he was only in 2 episodes, that's just how it worked out. And unfortunately, he's killed off, and I couldn't do anything about it, because that's the way it had to go. So I was like, man, what if I could, like, incorporate Jack Sparrow into this somehow, and, I came up with a funny cameo at the end credit scene, which is hilarious, I hope, for people. But I thought, well, what if there's, like, Barbossa, and he's, like, it's 30 years later, and he wants revenge for the person who killed Jack Sparrow, Also, the 30 years thing. What I like about epilogues is that they can take place years later and show you, like, okay, what became of this, So I always like the idea of, like, maybe let's show what happens 30 years down the line. And of course 30 is the number I used in the time travel stuff, I basically got that number from Back to the Future, because, they time travel 30 years backwards and forwards and whatnot. So this is what things look like 30 years in the future. No Pinhead taking over the world or anything like that. So this is what it looks like. And yeah, it's totally bleak. But like I said, I'm sort of like a fan of, like, well, not dystopian. Well, dystopian stuff is cool, but I mean, I'm a fan of, like, bleak sort of, like, endings. I know that's kind of weird. Or bleak, like, I don't know. I'm trying to, like, find something. Like, alright, Blade Runner 2049. That movie's pretty bleak. I mean, Rachel's dead. She died giving birth. Deckard is living alone in Vegas, like, totally not caring about nothing. Like, the world is literally, like, dying. It's never daylight outside. Like, like, this is one scene where Kay shows the girl the tree, and she's like, I've never seen a tree before. Like, that just tells you, like, wow, the world is really dead. But anyways, I don't know, I'm just a fan of that sort of, like, bleak environment. I don't know. I can't really explain it. But yeah, as far as, like, Joy's character, for example, like, she did a complete 180. The way I see it for Joy is, like, she had 3 strikes. When you first meet her, she's going through all this trouble with Travis's boss, Corleone, killing her father. So that was strike 1 for her. Strike 2 was when Travis died. And then strike 3 is when her husband, Matt, dies. After that, there's no coming back. She just goes full Sarah Connor, revenge, bloodlust. Yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to do a complete 180 with Joy, because she was nothing but, like, an angel. Deadpool even calls her an angel later on. But yeah, I just thought it would be a cool idea to do that. And, it gets pretty dark at the end where Joe actually kills her. And I know I'm jumping ahead here. There's commentaries all over the place. I apologize. But, yeah, some might view it and be like, why would he kill his own mother for a woman he just met, referring to Jin? Well, the thing is, he kills his mom not because she just killed Jin. That was sort of the final straw. That's not the sole reason why he killed her. She literally, like, didn't let him live his own life, as he says later on. And once she kills Jin, he knows there is no coming back for her. Like, she says, oh, it's over now, blah, blah, blah. He knows, that's bullshit. So that is essentially the final straw, and he just guns her down, and that's it. And yeah, it brings up another question, too. I'm jumping way ahead, but is the ending of this movie good or bad? Is it a happy ending or a tragic ending? If you ask me, it's tragic, but I sort of left it up to people to decide. Because Joe takes the mantle of the Phantasm, and the Phantasm is what killed his father. So, I mean, he's essentially becoming you know, what killed his father, what ruined his life in a way. I mean, I wouldn't say his life. Actually, never mind. He killed his mom. His life is ruined. But some could view it as like, okay, maybe it is a good ending because now he's going to lead this life of being a vigilante and stopping crimes and whatnot and being the good guy. So you could view it that way, and now he's free from, you know, the burden of his mother. So maybe somebody could view it as like a happy ending. I personally don't, but I leave it up to you to decide. I sort of wanted to have like an ambiguous ending, kind of, in a way. But I'm just letting you guys know. The Funko Streets story is over. Like, the Deadpool, Travis, Jeffrey, you know, Joker, Rick, all that stuff is over. But I do not, dismiss the idea. Maybe a few years from now, or a lot of years from now, I might tell the story of what happens with Joe as the Phantasm. But I'm not trying to get your hopes up here. You know, I don't think it'll be anything like this. Like, you won't see any familiar faces. It'll be like a brand new series, you know. I mean, it'll take place in the same universe, obviously, but I'm not trying to get your hopes up. It wouldn't happen for a long, long time, but I am possibly thinking about doing, okay, what happens to Joe next? And maybe it would be his own series or something. You know what I mean? Or it wouldn't necessarily have to be about Joe. Like, he could be in it as like a supporting character. And that brings up another thing. Another reason why I wanted to make this movie was because I've already mentioned time is finite. Now, I know it's just a matter of time before I'm not living in this house anymore. You know, I've lived in this house my whole life. So this room right here with the familiar locations and all that stuff, I can only make this movie in my room here with, you know, the blue walls and all that. You know, every location you see here is like a familiar location. Because the series took place here and there's flashbacks and whatnot. I know it's a matter of time before I'm living on my own somewhere else and I can't make this series in here anymore. So I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, if there's any other story I need to tell in Funko Street, I need to tell it now because I'm not going to be here anymore to tell it. So, yeah, I had to just do it. Like, I had to get it done. And it said, this is the ending, it's done. But I'm not ruling out a possible Joe slash Phantasm something, you know, I don't know. But it wouldn't happen for a long time. It'll have to take place in a totally different setting, you know, in a different... Because, honestly, another challenge with making the show and this movie, I only have so many locations in my room I can use. Like, that last scene you saw with Barbossa and his pirates, that is a location I have never used on Funko Street. I used it once, actually. I'll explain why, what it was. That is actually my cabinet below where my TV is, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that usually sits on there, like my PlayStations, my VCR, actually, which I still have, which is funny, and a whole bunch of junk, you know, like figures and other stupid things. I have a whole bunch of junk that sits right there, and I had to clear off that entire shelf to film the scenes that take place there. But I was like, you know, when I was coming up with the script and everything, I was like, man, I got to come up with some locations because, you know, there's some scenes that need to take place here and can't take place here, you know. And, yeah, I've only ever used that spot one other time. It was in season 4 when Deadshot shoots Lewis in the head from far away. He's standing at the corner right next to one of my PlayStations, if you want to go back and look at that. That's the only ever time I've used that location. It was just the corner of that shelf. But for this movie, I needed a big location to have all those pirates, you know, to fit Joy and her crew, you know, held hostage. So I thought that was a perfect spot, so I had to clear that all off, and it was a pain in the ass, but, you know. And then this is a new spot, too, actually. This is a new... I don't know what the hell you call this thing, but you put stuff inside it, and it's sort of like a seat, and it's sort of like a mini couch, in a way. It has no arm bars or anything, but, yeah, you can sit on it. Yeah, I figured I'd make this the collector's house. And, yeah, this is funny. Little Easter eggs here. You can see the RV and the Ecto-1 and Deadpool's tombstone he wanted to have, which he ends up being in. And Joker bot, which I thought was funny. So I thought it would be a good opportunity, you know, the collector, he collects junk, so throw in some Easter eggs, you know, why not? But I came up with this whole convoluted thing of, like, since Deadpool is able to, like, teleport or whatever, you know, he had his own realm, if you remember, in season 4. I'm like, well, hell, doesn't exist anymore. That was destroyed. But there, you could still go to that Purgatory room, you know, where Sean and Ed were sitting there with the orange book and what's your name? It's like a waiting room, sort of. That's what I called it. I was like, what if Deadpool could live there, you know? What if he would be living there? And I came up with this whole idea of the Phantasm as this mass vigilante. And honestly, it's, like, I really can't explain how I came up with all this stuff. Like, it was just... I was like, what if Jin is actually 11 and, you know, I don't know. It was like this complicated thing. I was like, what if 11 is the Phantasm? No one would guess that because she was such a minor character. But yeah, slowly reveal all these details about Jin's past and, you know, she has powers and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was just a complicated thing. And trust me, coming up with all these flashbacks and, like, the Phantasm mystery, when to show certain things, when to reveal certain things, lines of dialogue, you know, it was really tricky figuring out what order to put everything in the script. Yeah, it was a real pain in the ass. But yeah, so we get some flashbacks here, you know, showing 11, that one scene she had in the actual show. But yeah, this whole movie's tricky, like, and I gotta mention too, these pictures were also a pain. This, the entire show was shot on Canon 7D. Sometimes I take photos on my iPhone, and you could tell because the aspect ratio would change. I'm referring to the show, by the way, not this. And, I wanted to try something different here, because that was back when I was using an iPhone 6, and almost 2 years ago, I upgraded my iPhone 6 to an iPhone XS, and that was a huge upgrade. Like, oh my god, this phone is so amazing. Sorry, I'm an iPhone sucker. You're gonna have to deal with it if you like Android. I'm sorry. So I wanted to try something with this movie. I was like, why don't I try shooting this entire thing on iPhone? And I did. This entire movie is shot on iPhone. Insert shot on iPhone joke here, you know. But, yeah, so all the pictures here were taken on iPhone, and then there's little moments, too, where I'm actually filming. Like, there's moments where it's actually video. That's also another thing I wanted to try. I never did that on the show. I thought it would be cool to make it more cinematic, blah, 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 you know. But, my stupid self... I realized, obviously, with the iPhone 6 photos that I had taken sometimes for the show, the aspect ratio is for a full screen shot, 4:3, right? And obviously, I want the movie to be 16:9 widescreen. So, my dumb self, without realizing you can actually change the aspect while you take the picture, I was like, oh, I can just crop everything, like, after I take the photo. So, some of these photos look bad because they're cropped wrong. Excuse me. I don't have corona, I promise. So, my stupid self, I didn't realize, when you're taking the pictures, you can actually change the aspect ratio first, and then take the picture. So, there's a lot of these pictures here that I know were not done well, because well, I took them in a full screen shot, and then I went on to crop them later, and realized, oh man, these don't look as good as I wanted them to. So, like, these shots right here, like some of these, they're way too close up. Essentially, all the shots on this location, this was on the first day I did pictures, by the way, was all this on this location. Yes, even including the big scenes at the end where there's a lot of fighting and all that. And, yes, they're cropped really bad, if you ask me. So, yeah, I made a big boo-boo there. But it's okay. It all turned out okay for the most part. The photos look nice. And here we go, Purgatory. This was what I was referring to as the big scene. This is my favorite thing I've ever made. Like, ever. This entire scene. Like, and actually, I gotta mention, too, the last thing I ever filmed for this movie was all the scenes starting right here. Before this, when he was standing up there, that was actually on the first day. Starting now, this is actually on the last day. It's kind of funny how that happened. This is all the stuff I filmed on the last day. Him walking to the desk, all this stuff, and then when he gets up there and sees Old Man, Deadpool, and all that stuff with them, that's everything I did on the last day, and I wanted to do that on purpose because I knew it was the best part of the damn movie, so. Anyways, I'm going to readjust here real quick, sorry. So yeah, very Blade Runner 2049, obviously, he's walking around, it's quiet, it's very mysterious, you don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know, people watching this, did they realize, like, did they figure out who the Phantasm was? Because I really wanted people to, like, be guessing who really is the Phantasm. Like, I didn't want to make it too obvious that it was Joy, like, early on. And even when he's like, oh, it's Joy, like, I wanted you to think, oh, maybe it's not. Excuse me. So let me know in the comments, actually, if you guys actually guessed who it was, like, pretty fast. But anyways, here we go. The big scene. I wanted to take my time with this. And yeah, coming up with, like, you know, he got the lament configuration and how to, like, figuring out how he would actually get there was complicated, but it all worked out. You've got red on you, showing you the familiar location here. We've been here before. But yeah, obviously that puzzle box is not from the actual Funko Pop Pinhead. It's way more detailed. It's from the NECA Pinhead figure, which I love. I just taped it onto his suit there, obviously. But yeah, Deadpool put his little logo there just for fun. He's been living here for 25 years. I mean, Jesus. And people, you might be asking, Deadpool is so miserable and he just wants to die. Why doesn't he just off himself? Well, I don't really have an explanation for that, but I'm trying to think. I don't know how Purgatory works. Can you die in Purgatory? I really don't know. And plus, I don't think Deadpool, you know, wants to off himself, per se. He just, I guess he just, like, wants to just grow old and die. Like, I don't really know. I just wanted him to be as bleak as possible, because it's such a contrast, you know, to how his character is, and it's the definition of tragic. And yeah, like I said, I love how I did all this stuff. If I could just pat myself on the back here. Like I said, I'm so proud of all this right here. This is so cool to me. That, like, this turn... Literally, I've mentioned this in other commentaries. When you picture something in your head that you're going to make, and it comes out the way you pictured it, like, exactly, it is so satisfying. This literally came out just the way I was thinking, and I was so happy about it. Like, oh my god, I can't tell you guys. The night I finished editing the scene, I was so excited. Like, so excited. Oh, I should mention too, by the way. Yeah, this was supposed to come out in 2021, I was thinking. So, when I started editing this, I didn't realize how much I would be into it. Like, I was so into this when I was editing. I was like, man, I need to get this done, because I want it to be done and exist for you guys to see. I didn't rush it by any means, but I was so over the moon. Like, certain scenes like this, like I said, I was like, man, this ain't coming out in 2021. Like, it's coming out soon, and I thought it would be a cool surprise, you know, to put it out early like that. After telling you guys, you know, 2021. That's just what I had in mind, because I was like, I want to give myself plenty of time to make this, and yeah, I sort of, like, overestimated it. But anyways, yeah, I'm letting you guys know, I did not rush it by any means. It's just, I was so excited, I just had to do it. But I was pretty much having, like, no life for, like, a whole week when I was editing this. Like, a lot of my free time was spent editing this. But if you ask me, it's worth it, because I like doing surprises like that, and, yeah. And, again, I'm jumping forwards and backwards here. Some stuff just comes into my head, so I'm just thinking of what comes to my head, sorry. The beginning of this video, I had to put a disclaimer, because I've got new subscribers. You know, 2 years almost since the last Funko Street episode. People probably don't even have a clue. People on my channel, even since the beginning, might not even have a clue what Funko Street is. Yeah, I had to put a disclaimer because if you click on this movie and start watching it, you're like, what the hell is this? What is this title? What is any of this? And I had to put that to explain. You need to watch that first in order to understand this, because if you don't, you're going to be so confused. And then also, I hope you guys like the new intro there. That is my new intro for the coming foreseeable future. I wanted to like say, oh, here's a new intro too, just to get you guys excited even more. The little, Tyler Mitchell Presents with the red in the background. I made that myself. I like changing my intro once in a while, just to keep things fresh. But I thought it'd be cool to first use it on this because this is the first movie I've ever made. Will I make more movies in the future? I hope so. But anyways, and here we get some more fun Deadpool. Like, I wanted it to mostly be bleak Deadpool, obviously, but of course, you gotta have some humor in there, You gotta have the flashbacks here explaining what happened. So we find out, Deadpool is just hanging around with Travis, talking to him, and he's pretty lonely, he doesn't really do much. And like I said, Deadpool is the example of what you should not do when you're given a second chance at life, or even a third chance, whatever, whatever it is. He chooses essentially to do nothing. He chooses to just do the same old, and just stick around his hometown, or his home street, whatever you want to call it. And, there's nothing wrong with, like, sticking to your roots, but, like, you gotta venture out, And then, of course, the four central characters in this are Joe, Jin, Joy, all starting with J, which is pretty funny, and all three letters, and Deadpool, a.k.a. Wilson. And when I wrote the script for this, every time it's Old Man Wilson, I refer to him as Wilson, not Deadpool. Right here, he's referred to as Deadpool in the script, but every time, Old Man Wilson talks, it's just Wilson. That's his name in the script. Because he's a totally different person. Like I said, Joy did a complete 180. The same with Deadpool. He did a complete 180. He's totally not the same optimistic guy you used to love anymore. And also, I totally had in mind, I have to use Deckard to play Deadpool, obviously, Old Man Deadpool. And I was like, wait a minute, well, Deadpool was burned alive by his father, so he's got to be covered in burn marks. But then I also had the idea, well, burn marks obviously can't heal, but since he does have healing abilities, maybe they just heal at a much slower rate. And since this story takes place, like, nearly 50 years after he was burned alive, maybe at this point the burn marks have healed. And have pretty much drained his healing abilities, by then. So I thought that was a good explanation for that, why he would actually not have any burn marks, and then include a line, you're not covered in any burn marks, you made that up. And I really wanted it to get really heated there between Deadpool and Joe. And I gotta say, the reason why Deadpool comes back at the end, obviously to have a hero moment, but he does it for Joe, because he realizes Deadpool's responsible for his father's death. And he's essentially, like, he's not Travis's son, but in a way he is. He looks just like young Travis, obviously. I already made the parallels between that. But, Deadpool sees this kid and realizes, man, he doesn't deserve any of this. I should help him out. Even though, I shouldn't be involved in any of this stuff. But for him, I'll do it. And Deadpool sort of redeems himself there. But yeah, like I said, Joy was she was too far gone. I would say Deadpool did a 179. Joy did a 180. And then Jin. Jin is complicated because she has this horrific thing that happens to her when she's just a child. Nearly gets burned alive, manages to escape from the pile of bodies, lands smack dab on the floor, and then gets rescued by Tanaleer here. And what I love about this scene, too, I got to do my Rick voice, which I love. I got to give Rick a cameo. Rick actually gets 2 cameos, which is funny. Later on, he gets non-speaking cameo. But here we go. You get full Rick. You guys need to get out of here. I love doing Rick's voice. Sort of another character where I don't think I properly, gave him a great ending, unfortunately, the way he goes out in Season 5. I love Rick's character, but unfortunately, the way things played out, So I was happy to give him a cameo there, and I miss doing his voice because I love doing his voice. Honestly, I gotta say, guys, the two favorite voices I had making the show were doing Pinhead's voice and Rick's voice. Those two voices were fun as hell because they're so unique. I mean, Pinhead's voice really hurts your throat after a while, but yeah. And then here I had to recreate, obviously, all the dead bodies. Oh my god, guys, why did I not mention this? Okay, sorry, I'm all over the place. As you see here on my desk, where I film my videos, if you guys watch my videos nowadays, I have a shit ton of Funko Pop boxes and figures and everything on my desk nowadays. My desk looks totally different from what it used to look like a couple years ago. It used to be plain as hell, like the way you see it on the show. So, every time I would film a scene there, I would have to take all those pops down that you see in my videos. I would have to take away all the figures and make the desk look like how it used to look a couple years ago. And there's a black frame, actually, that hangs in the background there. You see the bottom of it all the time. Like, if the shot will change. Like, up there in the top, you see the bottom of the black frame that's always there? I had to put that big-ass frame back there where it used to be. And, yeah, it was a real pain. I had to do that, like, 4 or 5 times. Because the way I would film scenes, obviously, there's a scene that takes place on the desk with similar characters and similar situations and takes place in a similar, time period, because, there's different time periods in this movie. I would film all those scenes at the same time. All the scenes with the signs on the wall that say, "Where in the world are Wade Wilson? Who's the Phantasm?" And Travis's grave is right there. The present day Funko Street. I would film all those scenes on the same day. Then, like, for example, those scenes you just saw with all the dead bodies all over the place, I filmed that on one day by itself because that was a big scene to film, even though it's really quick. And then, all the scenes with, Old Man Deadpool and Purgatory, like, that was another time I had to film there. But every time I had a day where I filmed on the desk, I would have to take down all the stuff. It was a real pain in the ass, I'm telling you guys. Trying to recreate, the familiar locations. Like right there, that black frame that's always there, that doesn't hang there anymore. Like about a year ago, I took that, not a year, has it been a year? A while ago, I took that frame off there, I put it somewhere else, and I have my Funko Pops there now, my horror Funko Pops. So yeah, little did you guys know, while I was filming videos, between videos sometimes, I would be assembling and, disassembling and reassembling my, my backdrop on my desk. So that was fun. But yeah, I just wanted things to look authentic. And also, in the opening scene, which is a flashback, I used the original lighting, the yellow lighting, I like to call it. If you want to know more details about that, listen to my Season 5 commentary, where I did the same thing on the final episode. And of course, at the end, where Travis and Jeffrey have a cameo, that scene was used with the original lighting as well. Just to make it look authentic to Season 2, actually, is when that takes place. But yeah, this right here is the gut-wrenching part of the entire movie. When Deadpool basically says all he wants is to die, and just goes on about how life hates him, and it's really, like, writing this was quite the experience. I don't know, I kind of had to, like, go to a place with this. Yeah, it was something. And, I really hope, my idea, I mean, I'm all over the place, sorry, I can't even speak. It wasn't necessarily for shock value, but in a way it kind of was. I wanted it to be jarring. I wanted it to be totally not what you'd expect to come out of Deadpool's mouth. And I really wanted to illustrate how life can really get you down and how it can really make you, it could change you. But like I said, the message of the movie is to not let it change. You should persevere through life. So by no means am I saying act like this. But, if you do, I feel for you. I get it. I'm not saying you're a bad person for it. And I totally get it. We've all been there, But yeah, this was interesting, to say the least. I hope for the few fans there are, for the 2 people still listening probably, I hope I didn't, like, upset you with this, you know, in terms of, like, maybe, you know, maybe I ruined the character for you or something, or maybe I made it too sad or tragic, you know. I really hope I didn't that wasn't my idea. My idea was just to be like, you know, this is one way you can handle life, and you probably shouldn't handle it this way. But if you can't help it, I understand. There are many ways to go about it. And the thing with Joe, he's sort of like a flawless character in that he doesn't really do anything necessarily wrong. The only things he does in this movie are to help his mom and to help Jin at the end, until he kills his mom, obviously. That is actually, you know, his first flaw, I guess you could say. I mean, some might interpret it as not a flaw. He's actually doing her a favor by ending her life, doing himself a favor. I mean, I know that sounds pretty dark, but, you know, some people might see it that way. I see it as a flaw. You know, that's when he officially turns. And I find Joe's ending to be tragic, like I said, so. But yeah, Joe is a sort of hopeful, optimistic guy. He sort of represents me, like I mentioned earlier. I was the one friend in the group of friends that always wanted to just have a good time, you know, and I appreciated the time I had with my friends when we were younger. And I'd always notice, like, they're focusing on other things that don't matter, stupid little things, not wanting to hang out for stupid reasons, you know, just stupid stuff. And I was the one friend that was, like, consciously aware of, like, hey, you know, we're here, we're young, let's enjoy ourselves. And that's what Joe is in this movie. He's sort of like the person that's like, listen, we can fix all this stuff, just listen to me, just do this, just do that, and everything will be okay, you know. Like, it won't be sunshine and rainbows, but, you know. That's sort of what Joe represents. He's sort of me, in a way. But yeah, this was an experience, this whole movie. It was very eye-opening. Like, I didn't know I could, like, come up with things like this. Because, you know, there are very serious moments in the series, but nothing quite like this. And then, you know, of course, Deadpool. Everybody's got to die sometime. But that is supposed to be the jaw-dropping moments, in a way. Because he's not going to... It looks like he's just not going to help him, and he just turns around and leaves. But yeah, I mean... Like I said, you can interpret that 2 ways. Like, I don't know. That's the tagline for the movie. Everybody's got to die sometime. Like, if there was a poster, that would be the tagline. Yeah, am I running out of things to say now? What have I not talked about? Oh, I gotta mention, by the way. Unfortunately, a lot of the action in this didn't go as nice as I thought it would. Like, for example... When Jin kills all the pirates, that just sort of happened so quickly. Like, I had all these ideas in my mind of how she would do that, but it just didn't play out, like, the way I wanted. Like, it was sort of tough filming from that angle and on that spot, because, I don't know, it was just difficult. And all the scenes at nighttime, by the way, if you can't tell. Like, obviously here, in the daylight, like, the pictures look so nice. Like, here we go to nighttime, the pictures still look okay. But the quality isn't, like, super nice. Like, look at, you know, it doesn't look as nice. That's because in order to film at nighttime, you know, or a nighttime scene for this, I obviously can't use too much lighting because it'll look like daytime. But it's tricky because if you don't have enough lighting, the figures don't look that nice. Like, look at all this. It looks kind of grainy, you know what I mean? So, unfortunately, I mean, this movie needed to have a lot of nighttime scenes in order to fit the tone I was going for. And plus, in terms of, like, you know, logically, most of it does have to take place at night because Barbossa is like, you have 24 hours and they start looking at nighttime, so... But yeah, a lot of the scenes had to take place at night and they don't look as nice as the daylight scenes. Or the daytime scenes, sorry. Oh, and Bane. I should talk about Bane. Oh my god. I love Bane. I wanted to make him such an asshole, so over the top, and so crazy, and it worked. I love how he came out. But, Yeah, here's another example of like the photos look so cropped and like you don't see as much as I wanted. Like I don't know, it just ugh. Oh man, like the problem with shooting on my iPhone, right? I loved doing it. It was for sure an experience, but all those photos sitting on your photo library. So what I did, I pretty much like transferred all the photos over to my computer and then just deleted them all off my phone because I didn't want my photo gallery full of these stop motion pictures. Like it's Bane. You better come down here. They have a portal machine or something. I think they found Wilson. Okay, looks like I had a bit of a technical difficulty because the recording stopped. That was fun. Anyways, I was going on about how I didn't want all these photos sitting on my library because it's hundreds and hundreds of photos, if you guys don't realize, when you make this stuff. So, essentially, I didn't have, like, okay, it would have been much easier to like crop the photos and figure it out on my phone while I had them there, like the actual file on the actual device. And once they were just sitting on my computer, it was like a pain. I had to painstakingly go through each one and like figure out how I wanted them cropped exactly. Like if I put them all into like a slideshow, for example, and then crop the entire slideshow, some photos would have looked okay, but then some would have been cropped in the wrong place. You get what I'm saying? Like, individual ones I had to go through and figure out how they would be cropped. So, yeah, a lot of these nighttime ones don't look that great. But anyways, yeah, making this was a challenge, to say the least. But like I said, I'm overall happy with how it came out. Like, I think it's a great conclusion, you know, and I mentioned earlier, it's the ending to the entire Funker Street story. Not Travis's story ended with episode 50, and he was the main subject of the series. And since that's over, this is looking at what happens afterwards with Joe and all that, and Deadpool. And you know what? You know I don't necessarily have to kill everybody. Like, I don't go into this thinking, I'm going to kill everybody. It's just what happens, you know? But thinking, like, man, you know, when you watch episode 50 and the ending of that, you don't really think, like, wow, maybe Joy will end up killing Deadpool in cold blood. You know? It's just sort of what happens, you know? And it just goes to show, like, how much she changed. And it just... her character needed to be put down. Like, she was just a dog that needed to be put down, essentially. And that's just what happened. Deadpool, you know, the entire character of Deadpool in this is tragedy. So, he had to die a tragic way. He wanted to die alone. And I had, you know, the flashback to Season 2 after he died the first time with Travis and Jeffrey eulogizing him. And, you know, in this, he doesn't get a eulogy. He just dies alone. But, you know, while he is dying, you get to see the flashback of a eulogy. And I like to think, you know, as he's dying here at the end, that's what he's thinking of. Like, he didn't see it happen, obviously, because he was dead. But he's trying to imagine what it probably was like, what they probably said about him. And, yeah, that's the scene. And I thought it was a nice way to show, you know, give Travis and Jeffrey a cameo, to be there next to Deadpool. And, you know, the original three characters were Travis, Jeffrey, and Deadpool. I mean, Cthulhu. She was kind of in the first episode a little bit. I gave her a shout-out, you know, earlier. Even though Deadpool was being really serious, he's like, I fell in love for the first time there, even though it was a green monster. I thought that was a funny little joke. I love to mix in humor where it shouldn't be, like dark humor like that. I love that. I love dark humor. It's funny. I don't know. I'm kind of weird. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to give Deadpool the best send off I could possibly give him. This character went through so much, and third time's a charm, I guess, or not the charm. You know, he died a third time, and there's no coming back. There's no resurrections. There's no soul stone to resurrect him. There's no, you know, there's no Undertaker with the portals. There's nothing. There's no way he can come back to life. So it's over. It's over. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I needed to definitively end this series of characters and this not the universe in particular, but this setting per se, like Funko Street as a whole. Like I said, if I do a Joe Phantasm follow-up, it will take place completely somewhere else. Wherever I'm living at the time, I can film there. New locations, you know. Joe would have gone to a new city to be a vigilante or something. I don't know. It's not a guarantee or anything. I'm just saying, hypothetically. And then here we got Barbossa. And I gotta mention, I have a ton of WWE pops, and I thought it'd be a great idea to make them pirates. A lot of the shirtless ones, per se, like Goldberg, you know, Triple H, Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt aren't shirtless, but they already look like pirates, so that works. Andre the Giant is there, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought, and you know, planning this was kind of tricky. Like, oh, why would her gun be right there? You know, I don't know. It's suspension of disbelief. I don't know. Why would they leave her gun unattended right there? I don't know. But yeah, Joy is the polar opposite of the Joy we met in Season 5 here. Watch this. Just kills them all. Look at that. And then we got the Jack Sparrow statue, which I thought was funny. Because I have the golden Jack Sparrow pop. I'm like, I might as well make that a statue. You know, and have Barbossa idolize him. Even though he was a drunk. But yeah, here we go. Bane goes berserk. He lifts up this giant couch thing and crushes all these guys. But yeah, we do get the reveal that Jin is the Phantasm. And man, I wish I would talk about the Phantasm thing more, because I really don't... I honestly can't tell you the way I came up with it. Like, I was just drawing from different things. Like, you know, when you first come up with the idea of what you're going to make, you look at literally the Funko Pops that you own, because those are what you have to use. And I'm, like, looking through them, and I guess I saw the Phantasm Pop, and I was like, maybe I could do, like, a masked character thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I really can't remember how I came up with it, but... You know, I wanted to use Bane here, obviously. I wanted to use the wrestler pops. I wanted to use Barbossa. You know, I wanted to use the Men in Black pops, are obviously part of Jin's... Or Joy's crew, I should say, sorry. But here we get the reveal that Jin's the Phantasm. Like I said, since I made this, I really don't know if that's obvious or not. Like, you know, early on. Like, was it obvious? I really need to know. But yeah, they start fighting, blah, 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 and then, you know, Joy's crew shows up right here, and then just blasts the hell out of them. But yeah, I love that they made a Sarah Connor pop, because I was like, I'm definitely making that Joy. You know, it's going to be a bleak thing set in the future. Oh yeah, that's going to be Joy. She's going to look totally different. Nothing like the woman that we met, like I said. And yeah, you know, another question people might have is like, okay, why does Joy kill Deadpool? Or, you know, shoot him point blank with a shotgun when she realizes he isn't the Phantasm? Well, for one, he kills her whole team right here. So that's not nice. And plus, for, 25 years, she has nothing on her mind but to kill him. So she's already had this bad taste in her mouth about him. And plus, I don't know if she's necessarily realizing she's going to kill him with that shotgun blast. Like, I know it's point blank, sort of. Pretty close, but he does have healing abilities. But yeah, like I said, this Joy is so far gone. Like, she's nothing like... And plus, he's in her way. That is the main reason. He is in her way of killing the Phantasm. So, nothing's going to stop her, so she shoots him. That's the reason why she does that. I know it's dark and it's cold-blooded, but like I said, that's what I had to do to make Joy the ultimate antagonist. Honestly, in this movie, I would say Joy is the antagonist. Yeah, not the Phantasm. The Phantasm sort of, like, is the catalyst for all this stuff. But yeah, we do get a nice, quick, old-school Deadpool killing everybody, which I thought was a fun moment. You know, Deadpool gets one last hurrah here, starts teleporting like crazy, and then just shoots everybody. Just kills them all. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. And, yeah, this takes a lot out of him. He hurts his back. He's upside down for a split second. I don't know if you saw that. I did that for fun. You know, because Deadpool's goofy. You know, used to be goofy. He would be upside down once in a while, and I thought it'd be funny to have him be like, "Oh, I hurt my back." You know, I wanted to throw in as many old people jokes as I could, like, "Oh, I hurt my hip. Oh, I hurt my back." I don't know. I just find geriatric Deadpool like really funny, even though it's not supposed to be. It's that dark humor, like I said. Yeah, and then this is without a doubt the darkest thing I've ever come up with. Joe kills his own mother. I hope you guys realize this, on his birthday. This is still his birthday. I purposely did that because, you know, I had to set it exactly, like, 25 years later, whatever. I mean, she's pregnant with him, 9 months later, he's born, do the math. It's not exactly 25 years, but, yeah, I mean, this is, like, I'm not trying to, like, say, oh, I want to kill my mother or anything. Like, people can read into it like that, but no, I don't want to kill my mother. Joe has to do it because this woman, you gotta realize, Joy is not a good human being after what she does here. I know Jin says, oh, I deserve it, blah, 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 and, Joy totally sees that as like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it then, I'm gonna kill you. Jin is just sort of like owning up to what she's done and accepts, her fate. But the opposite lies within Joy. She cannot accept that her son is here for her. They can move on. Everything's over now. Jin can, like, I don't know, throw her in prison or something, Like, you don't have to kill her, per se. And she's been through arguably something just as bad as you, It's just like this moral thing of, like, what do you do? But if you ask me, Joy is the antagonist of this entire thing. And right there, that is the big shocker. That's the other jaw-dropping moment. Yeah. Joe, so many things could be running through his head right now, I can't even imagine. But yeah, this is a very bleak ending. He kills his own mother on his birthday. Man, if you asked me 2 years ago what's going to happen to Joy and Deadpool, I wouldn't have thought of this. I wouldn't have... Nothing like this. I mean, I had some ideas of like, oh, maybe I could have them do this or this or this, but... Man, I come up with some dark, twisted things. Yeah. Oh, man. And then Deadpool's last words. I'm sorry, kid. Like I said. This is a happy, family-friendly movie, ain't it? Yep. And then, he's like, Deadpool wanted to be alone, so I knew where he went. And, yeah, he buries Deadpool in the tombstone that he wanted to be buried in. You know what's funny? Deadpool did die twice before, but he was never actually buried underneath that tombstone thing, like, properly, right? Because the first time he died, his body vanished, and they mentioned in Season 4, like, oh, we went to bury you under your tombstone, but your body vanished. Oh, no, sorry, Season 3. We buried the Collector, but then we went to bury you, and your body was gone. So he wasn't buried under there at first. So yeah, he actually does get to be buried under there, which is what he wanted originally. And of course, I had to include it in the Collector's collection, so he'd have access to it. But yeah, he looks at Travis's grave, and, he wants to be there with his friend as he fades on. And right here, that transition, I literally switched the light bulbs, everything. I literally did not move the camera. I did that transition in real time like that. Like that I took the photo, and then I changed the entire look of all that stuff. I put in all the figures, blah, 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 and then I took the next picture, which was the, the transition shot. And yeah, there we go. We got Travis and Jeffrey on glorious iPhone XS camera for the first time. But yeah, I didn't want to keep it too... I didn't want to drag the scene too... Like, I wanted to be quick. Just a little quick eulogy here. And include the everybody's gotta die sometime, of course, tagline. Yeah, I mean... I'm really thinking right now, this whole commentary was all over the damn place. Did you guys understand anything I said? Like, do you understand, like, my explanations for making this, or motivations, or anything? Yeah, I mean... So, like I said, I view this as a tragic ending Joe became the thing that ruined his life, essentially. But, you know, he's going to do good. He is, you know, mostly without flaw. He has a good heart. And yeah, I mean, oh, and right here. Now, I'm not sure where most people, like, where people come from. Do they view burning bodies as being disrespectful? You know, in general, in my mind, burying a body is the most respectful thing you can do, and then burning one is like, well, I wouldn't say the most disrespectful thing you could do, but it's like the opposite in a way, unless it's like a nice burning. Like, you know, when Luke burned Darth Vader at the end of episode 6, that was like a nice burning, like a proper, you know, thing. Or if somebody gets cremated, you know. But like, for example, I think it was The Walking Dead season 1. After the camp gets attacked, Glenn is like, oh, we don't burn our people, we bury them. You know, if you remember that in season 1. I always, after seeing that episode, I always viewed burning bodies as being less respectful than burying a body. So in this case here, Joe burns his mother's body but doesn't bury her because he completely lost respect for her, obviously, because he killed her. And that was another reason why I included the little chatterer monster, because I wanted to illustrate he's willing to bury that stupid little monster thing and not his mother. That's how far gone she was. So that's the main reason I included that chatterer character, actually. To illustrate, yeah, he'll bury that little stupid monster thing. He doesn't even know what the hell it is, but he won't bury his own mother. And I gotta mention, guys, there was a casualty in making this. My collector Funko Pop, his head broke. Yes, he is a bobblehead, obviously, because all the Marvel Pops are bobbleheads. His head broke off. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. I had to glue it back on, and it won't stay on. So I broke it. I'm going to fix it well one day, you know, with some nice glue. Oh my god, guys, I forgot to mention. My good friend Aaron, who is a huge fan of this, the biggest fan of this series, I had to give him a cameo as Marty McFly. I mean, I just came up with Marty as like a, you know, character for him to play. I had to give him a cameo in this because this is the, like I said, this is the ending. So I had to give him a role. It was a quick role, but he deserved it. He's been there since almost day one. Yeah, that was fun. I loved coming up with that stuff, and he saw the movie and he really liked it, and I'm happy. I'm so happy he liked it. But yeah, guys, I hope my commentary explained enough. I got a sore throat, excuse me. Yeah, so this is the end, guys. I'm including, actually, here, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, this is the old intro music I used to use, like 2 years ago. I purposely included this song here just to be like a little, I guess, an Easter egg. Like, oh, remember this music I used to use? Now you actually get to hear the almost full-length version of it, from Paris, my favorite band. And plus the song sort of fits with the movie, Demon Limbs. You can look into the lyrics if you want. But yeah, I had to, oh yeah, Chadwick Boseman, of course. That is, yeah, more tragic than this movie would ever be, his death. But yeah, guys, make the most of your life, honestly. Just live life to the fullest. I mean it. And then here's a little fun thing. Barbossa, when he was your age, you know. It's like a funny thing. Like, Jack Sparrow supposedly taught him all this stuff. I thought it'd be funny, though, to show him, like, when Jack Sparrow was being, like, a little hard to work with, you know? Like, where's my rum? I had to give Jack Sparrow some redemption, guys. So he gets to be the last thing you ever see. This is a flashback, obviously, if you couldn't tell. But, you know, the last thing you get to see is an end credit scene involving Jack Sparrow, which is funny. And then, you know, Barbossa's just like, what the hell? Oh, God, I don't know. I thought that was a great thing. And then you get to hear... This is my little tribute to Avengers Endgame. At the end of Endgame, the credits, you get to hear Iron Man hammering away on the Mark I in the cave. You get to hear the original Funko Street music, and I thought that would be a nice little touch to throw on. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this. I appreciate you. Goodbye.